Good morning. This is Kelley Hobart from Alpaca Direct, and I'm happy to be here with you on a lovely Tuesday morning. And today we are going to be talking again about this Rhoda. It's a top-down short sleeve sweater, and it's by Irene Lynn. It's quite lovely. And I'm enjoying knitting this, but I thought we could go over three tips that you can use when you're picking up stitches for the shoulders on a top-down sweater. So here is my project so far, and I have started at the top with my long tail cast on and have worked my way down to the red yarn that you can see, and it's quite lovely. And then the pattern tells me to take these stitches, put it on a stitch holder or scrap yarn. And then I like to tie my scrap yarn so that it doesn't accidentally get caught on something and come off. And so we're going to continue on from there. So every week we have a giveaway. And for this last week, it was for some Cascade 220 in the heather gray. And the light gray was the color that got the most votes. And it's, if you haven't tried Cascade 220 before, it's a workhorse yarn. It's made of 100% Peruvian Highland wool, and it knits up just beautifully. And I've heard a lot of people talking about that lately. That's why I wanted to give that away as a prize. And then I thought for this week, what about some finito? And finito is a hand-painted yarn by Malabrigo. And it is a lovely merino, 100% merino yarn, and it's non-superwash. And I believe it is a sport weight yarn. I've used it many times. So you guys have to vote on which color you think you would like best. And one is blues and the other is the fall colorways.
Say red, maybe?
So orange or blue. And you guys tell me, and then this next week we can send it out in the mail to the lucky winner. So if you win, all you have to do is contact customer service at Alpaca Direct and give us your shipping address, and we can send it out in the mail to you. And the way you get entered to win is you post comments in the comment section. Let us know what you're working on. Any comments at all get you entered to win. I will give you a little hint that the more interesting the comment, the quicker it catches our eye. So it's an easy way to win and get to try some lovely products that we have.
Yeah, what things they like.
Yes, Jim said, you guys don't forget to tell us what projects you're working on. And if you are talking about a project, don't forget to name the name of the designer and the name of the pattern, because we can make it or use it in future Technique Tuesdays. So that's totally awesome. So I have been talking about this Rhoda sweater, which is a paid for pattern I found on Ravelry. It's by Irene Lynn, and she does a great job with her patterns. They're very clear. In the particular pattern that I'm knitting, it's line by line. It is not using a chart, but it's super easy to follow the directions. So if you're newer to garment knitting, this is a pattern that you can easily memorize. And you can see in here how lovely that looks. And I'm using Sueno, which is a blend of superwash merino with 20% bamboo. And that's by the Barocco, by Cassell. It's a lovely yarn. It has a nice ply to it, and I've used it many times. So let's take a look at some tips for picking up stitches on those shoulders and being successful with that. So I'm going to come around here, Jim, and we're going to take a look at some tips that make picking up stitches super, super easy when you're doing these projects. So if you look at the pattern that I was using, I have knit all the way the back, and we're getting ready to do shoulder shaping. So this is starting at the back, and then right here it tells you when you get done with that section to break the yarn and then pick up 12 stitches on this left shoulder. And you can see here on their pattern how easy it says pick up 12 for the left front, pick up 12 for the right front, and it says back with your right side facing, and I have my right side facing, so I'm ready to go. So if I was going to, I am picking up stitches for either side of my shoulders, and what I did is I counted 12 where the 12 stitches would be picked up, and you can see that I'm using, this is the size of needle that I'm knitting with, and this is the size that I'm using for picking up my stitches. It's much smaller. And what the advantage of doing it that way is that you can easily get underneath those stitches and pick them up, and then it just makes it so much easier. And by picking that in the pattern, it tells you with right side facing, pick up and knit the last 12 stitches from the cast on edge of the back. So these are your last 12 stitches from the cast on edge of the back. So what I like to do is I take a locking stitch marker on either side. So when I'm picking up the stitches for the right shoulder, I will be starting with the stitch to the very right of this stitch. And so I've marked that same place on both sides of my work so that my pickup, so that my shoulder straps are not going to look off-centered or silly looking. So then when I'm picking up the stitches, I'm just picking up each bar as I go along, just like so. And if you look at these bars that I'm picking up, usually when you have a stitch on your needle, it is mounted with the right hand leg in front. If you look at the way this is mounted, the right hand leg is in back. So when I go ahead and start knitting with these, I'm going to make sure to knit the first row in through the back loop so that I can pick up correctly. So that my stitches are mounted correctly. So we have 3, 6, 9, 3, 6, 9, 10. And then right here, 11 and 12. There you go. So I have 12 stitches on my needles. And you know that when you're picking up the stitches and you're just placing them on this needle, this does not dictate the size of the stitch. So simply to get your gauge correct, all you have to do is start knitting with your regular size of needle, right? So now let's think about, so the 3 tips were use a smaller needle for the pickup. The second tip is pick up the stitches first, and then after you have picked them up and you know you have the right amount of stitches on your needle, then you can go ahead and knit them so they're properly mounted through. So we're going to knit them through the back loop. So those are the 3 tips. So I have my working yarn here, and what you want to do is make sure you're not knitting with your tail, and then I would simply just start knitting each of these stitches, being very careful to knit them through the back loop. And on this first stitch, if you would like to, you can just tighten that up after, okay? So you can see how easy it is to pick up these stitches and then start knitting them. And I just picked up one leg. And if for some reason you don't like the way it looks, you can always go back and pick it up again. There's nothing that says that you have to keep this. You can look at it and say, do I like the way it looks? If you don't, try it again. Sometimes you can try it 2 or 3 times until you get the exact, till you get as close to perfect as you can possibly get.
Maybe you can mention that. Yeah. You're trying to use.
See how nice that is? Yes, and Jim was saying that on this project, I changed to a lighter color of yarn so that when we're doing the knitting instruction for you, you can see it better. But that's what it looks like if you use those 3 little tips. You can see how easy it is. So when they say, pick up and knit, you can pick up and then knit. And it works out just fine. And then on our left front, if you look here, it said pick up and knit. And then this is our next row, which is the wrong-sided row. It tells you how to knit that. And then the section below here goes into short rows. But we're not going to be talking about that today. All we were going to talk about today is how to get those new stitches so that you have a beautiful shoulder seam starting here. And then, and it looks symmetrical on both sides. And it's super easy to do. So if you have a project like this and you have never done a top-down sweater, you can use these simple little techniques and you can get your pickup perfect on those shoulder straps. So it looks seamless. It looks like you did not pick up stitches at all. It looks perfectly,
Why don't you recap the
awesome. Yes, so Jim said that I should recap for you so that you can remember the little tips that we just talked about. So number 1 was placing stitch markers on both sides in exactly the same spot. So on this side, we're picking up the stitches and going out to the edge. And on this side, we're going to start at the edge and go in. But neither here nor there, you will have your shoulder stitches picked up completely the same on both sides, which is going to make your sweater look better in the long run. So, and then using that, don't be afraid to use the smaller needle when you're actually picking up the strands of each stitch, because that smaller needle will allow you to get underneath those strands of yarn much more easily. And then you won't be struggling so much. You can do it quickly. So that is great for that. Now let's take a look. And once again, let's go ahead and vote on our Malabrigo Finito, which is the 100% merino wool hand-painted yarn in a sport weight. And you're going to choose either the orange or blue. And this will be the giveaway for next week. What do you like about Finito? What is it? So you can repeat that question. What Jim said, what do I like about Finito? There is so many things to like about Finito. Number 1, what I like about Finito is it is the non-superwash yarn, which means it won't stretch out. And that is really lovely. If you're working on a larger project and like a sweater or something like that, the yarn won't stretch out, because sometimes, as nice as the superwash is, because it allows you to machine wash your items, it's not nice when your sweater grows and it turns into being too big after you've worn it for a little bit. And so this Finito does not do that. And I also like the fact that it's hand painted. See how lovely the colors are? Totally lovely. Oh, and there's one more thing that I totally love about this Finito, and that is that you can put it right up to your skin and you could leave it there all day long, because it is not going to make you itch. So you can wear it all day long and be nice and warm and not be itchy. So you guys vote whether you want the orange or the blue, and we can get that out for the lucky winner for next week. And let's go back to our Cascade 220 Heathers, and this light gray colorway was the winning color for this week. And Jim, did you give me the, oh my goodness, haha, Peggy Mowry, you won yourself some Cascade 220. This will be a couple skeins for you to work with, and congratulations. And I'm sure that you know how to get in contact with us because you have purchased from us before. And I hope that you're doing well, and I hope you enjoy this Cascade 220.
And tell her thanks for posting so much
yes.
in the VIP group.
Yes, and Jim said, don't forget to tell her thank you for posting so much in the VIP group. And your projects are so beautiful. I can't tell you how beautiful they are and how talented of a knitter you are, and a crocheter, shall I say. So I hope you all have a great week, and I will see you next